Across the sands of Sudan, more than 200 ancient pyramids stand, every one abruptly flattened at the summit, as if beheaded by some unseen force. Was this the lost signature of Kushite engineers, or the aftermath of a catastrophe? Behind this skyline is a series of choices, obsessions, and acts of destruction that rewrote African history. To understand why these African pyramids are missing their tops, we have to begin long before the first blast. After the last Kushite pharaohs withdrew from Egypt, the old capital at Napata could no longer hold its ground. Sometime around 300 BC, the rulers of Kush made a deliberate move south, settling in Meroe. This new city lay hundreds of miles deeper into the Sudanese heartland, far from the reach of Egyptian armies, and closer to the rich iron deposits and forests that lined the banks of the Nile. Meroe was more than a safe haven. It was a crossroads. Trade routes from sub-Saharan Africa met caravans from the Red Sea and Egypt, bringing gold, ivory, and exotic goods through its markets. For nearly 1,000 years, Egypt had turned away from pyramid building. But in Meroe, the Kushites revived the ancient tradition on their own terms. The city's growing power and wealth set the stage for a pyramid boom, unlike anything seen before in Africa. Here, a new chapter in royal burial began, shaped by both necessity and ambition. At Meroe, the pyramid builders took a radically different approach from their Egyptian predecessors. Instead of sprawling monuments with broad bases and gentle slopes, these structures rose sharply from the desert floor, their sides angled at nearly 70 degrees. The result was a series of tall, slender silhouettes, marker pyramids that rarely exceeded 30 meters in height. Each one was anchored on a narrow foundation, with walls built for sandstone blocks and a core of rubble. Unlike the great tombs at Giza, which housed burial chambers deep within their massive interiors, the Kushite pyramids served as monumental markers above shallow underground vaults. The actual burial spaces lay just beneath the surface, accessed through a small chapel attached to the eastern face. This design was both practical and symbolic, allowing for rapid construction and dense clustering in the necropolis. The steep geometry and modest scale set these pyramids apart, making their original pointed peaks all the more striking, and making the later loss of those peaks feel like an unnatural scar on the landscape. Power in Kush did not pass from father to son. It passed through the royal women, the Kandakes. These queens held authority as both rulers and warriors, commanding armies and presiding over vast networks of trade. The most renowned among them, Amenishak-Eto, reigned at the height of Kushite wealth and influence. Her court controlled the flow of gold from the desert mines, ivory from the south, and exotic goods that traveled up and down the Nile. Greek and Roman writers described the Kandakes as fierce adversaries, noting how Amenishak-Eto and her predecessors repelled Roman invasions and negotiated on equal terms with emperors. The treasures buried with these queens became the stuff of legend: golden armbands, rings, and necklaces. Some were crafted with techniques borrowed from Rome, and others displayed unmistakable African artistry. In the eyes of later fortune hunters, these tombs promised unimaginable riches. The concentration of wealth and power in the hands of the Kandakes made their pyramids irresistible targets for those willing to risk everything for a chance at gold. After the last queen was laid to rest and the city of Meroe faded from power, the desert reclaimed its silence. By 350 AD, the Kushite kingdom had collapsed, leaving behind hundreds of pyramids scattered across the sands. For the next 15 centuries, these monuments stood untouched, their sharp capstones still piercing the sky. The relentless sun, dry winds, and shifting dunes formed a natural barrier, cutting off the necropolis from the outside world. Unlike the pyramids of Giza, which lost their limestone sheaths to builders and thieves, the pyramids of Meroe were spared by their isolation. Few travelers dared cross the Nubian desert, and those who did left only sketches and brief notes, like the drawings made by European explorers in 1821, which captured the pyramids with their pointed peaks intact. No armies, no looters, and no treasure hunters disturbed the resting place of the Kandakes. For over 1,000 years, the only witnesses to these royal tombs were the stars and the wind, preserving a landscape that seemed frozen in time. Giuseppe Ferlini arrived in Sudan in 1834 with a single goal: gold. Born in Bologna in 1797, he trained as a doctor but drifted from medicine to military service and finally to fortune hunting. Years spent as a surgeon with the Egyptian army brought him into contact with tales of lost treasures buried deep in the African desert. The legends spoke of pyramids filled with riches, guarded only by the silence of centuries. Ferlini was not an archaeologist. He had no patience for careful excavation or scholarly study. Instead, he relied on brute force and explosives, convinced that speed and luck would serve him better than science. He brought with him gunpowder, drills, and a determination sharpened by years of disappointment. Ferlini's methods were as direct as his ambition. Rather than search for hidden doors or decipher ancient inscriptions, he planned to attack the pyramids from above, blasting through stone in search of instant reward. The fate of Meroe's monuments now rested in the hands of a man who valued gold above history. He chose the largest pyramid in the northern cemetery. It was N6, built for Queen Amenemhat. Instead of searching for an entrance, he scaled the steep face, drilled into the stone at the very top, and packed the summit with gunpowder. The charge thundered through the desert silence, sending blocks and dust tumbling down the pyramid's flanks. When the debris settled, the damage revealed a hollow near the upper section, an anomaly in Kushite design. Inside, scattered among the shattered masonry, was a trove of gold, armbands, rings, necklaces, and intricate jewelry, fused with Roman and African motifs. The discovery defied every expectation. Kushite treasures were usually hidden deep underground, not near the peak. Yet here, in a chamber exposed by violence, the gold seemed to spill out of the wound. For the first time in centuries, the riches of a Kandake glinted in the desert sun. That single blast convinced him that every pyramid might conceal the same secret in its tip, and it set off a spree that would change the face of Merou forever. Ferlini didn't work alone. With his partner Andrea Stefani, he set about repeating his explosive method across the necropolis. Labor teams moved quickly between sites, hauling gunpowder, drills, and debris under the desert sun. Over the course of several months in 1834, the pair systematically targeted pyramid after pyramid, always attacking from the summit. Around 40 monuments lost their pointed peaks in this survey. Each one was left with its top brutally sheared away. The original skyline of clustered pinnacles was erased, replaced by a field of flat-topped ruins. The damage was not random. It was the result of a calculated, relentless assault, driven by the hope of another golden windfall. Most of the pyramids Ferlini attacked yielded nothing but shattered stone and lost history. The real burial chambers in Merou lay underground, hidden beneath the pyramid markers and sealed away from the desert's reach. When explosives tore through the peaks, they destroyed not only the physical structure, but also the inscriptions and painted chapels that lined the entrances below. With each blast, centuries of funerary art and royal names were erased. The logic behind Ferlini's spree collapsed almost immediately. The treasures he chased were never stored in the tips, and the damage left the necropolis scarred beyond repair. What survived was a field of flattened monuments, stripped of their context and meaning. Ferlini's gold made its way to Europe, but museum experts in Berlin and Munich met him with cold suspicion. The intricate designs, Roman gods beside African lions, unfamiliar scripts pressed into gold, seemed too strange to be real. Curators dismissed the artifacts as clever forgeries, unable to accept that such a fusion could come from the Nubian desert. Years passed before King Ludwig I of Bavaria recognized their value and purchased part of the collection. Only then did the treasures of Meroe begin their journey into European museums, while the ruined pyramids remained behind in silence. Today, the scarred pyramids of Meroe stand as a warning. Cultural heritage can vanish in a single generation, as illicit excavations still threaten sites worldwide. The story of Meroe asks, what will we choose to protect, and what will we let greed erase next? Share your thoughts below.